you're right. I mean, they're very comfortable with it. Only has 30. Yeah, that's very right. Exactly. So for anyone with an ear for harmony, so you're right. I actually, at one point early on, before I think they really got with them. Okay. Because they recognize
We say Tim Keller for Auditor? No?
Pasó, el destino burló, de nostalgia, y no pude volver. San Juan me lloré, pedacito de patria. Mi cabello blanqueó, y mi vida se va, y a la muerte me llama.
All the great things that he is doing now and will be doing in the future. So we're excited to be able to have an opportunity to do that. So welcome everyone to our home. We've got some wonderful people here, and all of you, and some of our legislators are here with us this afternoon. And so I'd like to invite Senator Michael Sanchez, if you would please come down. Welcome, sir, and thank you for being here this afternoon. And I'd like you to say a couple words, if you could, as we get started with the presentations. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here in the International District. Blair and Ann, thank you very much for making your home available for this wonderful event. And we're all here for one reason, aren't we? And what is that reason?
Democrats.
There you go.
Democrats.
That's exactly. We're here to make sure that Tim is elected as our next state auditor. And I'm absolutely positive that Tim won't be taking 19 hours of dance lessons without meeting with his staff. I'm absolutely positive he won't be doing that. If any of you read the Journal, you know what I'm talking about. Well, you know, besides Tim, we have another election that's very important to all of us, and that's our gubernatorial race. And I don't know about any of you, but I think you all feel the same way that I do, that this administration has been one of the worst administrations that has ever been in the state of New Mexico. You know, I've served under a lot of different governors in my tenure as a state senator, and I've never seen anyone be as vindictive and hateful and mean-spirited toward the people of the state of New Mexico. I'm tired of her big corporate interest going around the country and raising money from the big oil companies who want to take over the state of New Mexico. I think that's just one of the worst situations that we could ever be in. You know, I also just have this feeling that there is a groundswell of support from Democrats like yourself. Money doesn't always win elections. Money doesn't always win elections. And if you all talk to your neighbors and your friends and explain to them exactly what's happening in this state, I think we can get out the vote. Remember, in a non-presidential election year, we have a lower voter turnout. So it's our responsibility to try to get individuals, those individuals who only go out for presidential years and presidential elections, to get energized, to get excited. And who better than to get us energized than Tim Keller? You know, so I hope each one of you talks to your neighbors, your friends, even some of the neighbors that you may not know, and encourage them to go out and support our Democratic ticket. We need Democrats to be elected. We need Democrats to be re-elected.
Yes!
I like her a lot. You know, the other thing I'll just, and my wife, who's in the back, Lynn, she's always been with me for 45 years. I was watching, I think it was Meet the Press this morning. And I really didn't want to watch because it was an individual by the name of Cruz who was talking and speaking. And you know, I kept hearing him say nothing. An educated individual who says absolutely nothing. And his only goal is to destroy the Affordable Care Act. I even think he brought up the Hillary Act. Did anybody catch that today? He used her name. And I suspect, just between you and me, that she's going to be the next Democratic nominee for president. I believe she will win. So, you know, we have those types of people who are fighting us, who don't want us to have anything to do with government, that don't want us to have any say-so in what goes on with their elitist positions. It was striking because he talked about those people in Washington, and he is those people in Washington who have this view that their attitude is the only one, and they know better than anybody else. And that Republican and those Tea Party members, I've got to tell you, I've never seen anything like it, but we should all be worried about it because they don't cross party lines to vote. They pull, or used to pull, that one lever and make sure that they just vote for those Republican candidates who are, in my opinion, not doing what's good for America and the state of New Mexico. So I'm encouraging each one of you to go out and talk to 5, 10 people, ask them to talk to 5, 10 people, so that we can get out the vote, so that we can elect a Democratic governor in the state of New Mexico. We need to make sure Michelle Lujan Grisham is re-elected. We need to make sure that Hector Balderas is in fact elected as our next Attorney General. We have wonderful candidates, and some of the races are contested. And one of the things that we do that we shouldn't do as Democrats, and maybe it's different in the international district, but when we have more than one candidate and there's a winner and there's a loser, or there's someone who is successful and someone who is not successful in the campaign, we need the person who is not successful in the campaign to get on board with the person that is successful and not fight them and not work against them and work together for the betterment of the state of New Mexico. So, again, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate being here in the International District. I've got to tell you, your representative in the International District is one of the most progressive, one of the hardest working state senators that I've been associated with in my 20-plus years. But I will tell you, he gets a little nervous sometimes. You know, freshman legislators or young legislators always want their legislation to get through. And I'm looking at you too, Senator Ivy Soto, just so you know. It's not just Senator Keller. But if I could relay just a short little incident that Senator Keller and I had. There was a bill that Senator Keller wanted really bad. And I'm the majority leader, and I can sometimes control when bills are heard or not heard. Occasionally I can do that. And Senator Keller would come and sit by my desk for hours at a time. And he'd say, Michael, is this bill ever going to come? Do you think we can hear that bill today? Do you think we can hear that bill in an hour? He'd go back to his seat, then he'd come back for another stay. And I told him, Senator Keller, it's all about timing. In our legislature, in our Senate, it is about timing. And I will tell you, we brought the bill up. I can't remember exactly which bill it was because every bill he comes to my seat and asks me to get on the floor. But he finally got that bill passed, and you could just see what a relief it was to get that bill passed for Senator Keller. With that, and that wasn't that great of a story, so I'll tell you a joke. Let's see, what is the joke? I'm not a very good joke teller, and then I'm going to introduce Senator Keller. Lynn, which joke is that? The little kid? Knock, knock? Yes, knock, knock. Knock, knock. Who's there? Queen who? Queen the table. Queen the dishes, please. You even forgot. Okay, if that joke was good, then I'll break the ice with this other joke. What did the bartender say to the horse that walked into the establishment? Yeah, why such a long face?
That's pretty good. Love your brothers.
Oh well, oh well. With that, let me introduce the guest of honor today. And as I said earlier, one of the most progressive, one of the strongest advocates for the people of his district, as well as an advocate for the people of the state of New Mexico. You know, we have a label as Democrat, but I'm going to tell you what, Tim doesn't worry about the label. He just does what's right for people. If someone in his district is a Republican and he needs help, he does it because it's the right thing to do. He fights for those men and women who are working in this state. He made sure that there was a preference for in-state businesses to make sure they got an in-state preference so that they could work here and the jobs stay in the state of New Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the finest, most honorable individuals that I have had the pleasure of meeting, your next state auditor, Senator Tim Keller.
Well, I got to say, those of you who haven't visited the Roundhouse and spent some time in the Senate, you'll hear those jokes occasionally, and our majority leader is part of running the floor. He has to do a lot of different things that have to deal with timing. And sometimes it involves telling jokes, and it also involves sharing some good stories about our colleagues. So let me just say also, too, for me, you know, if this auditor campaign works out, I'll have put in 6 years in the Senate. And it's been a dream come true for me for those 6 years. And I've had the fortune to serve with so many wonderful people. But throughout that time, we have really only had one consistent leader in the Senate. And I think that even on both sides of the aisle. And that has been Michael Sanchez. He has been our leader for decades and continues to be. And I gotta say, he's absolutely right about me spending a lot of time at his desk. And now that I sit next to him, his whip, it's probably even worse. So I'm glad he didn't bring that up. But it's also been a special honor for me to serve in that capacity. And primarily because I've been able to learn and get even additional insight, Michael, from the way you run the floor and the way you think about things. And so for me, that is just an extra blessing that I've had in the state Senate. And for me, it even makes it even more difficult if this works out to leave, because I truly love that role in serving next to you. So let me start with a couple of things. I know we have lots of good food here, and it's a beautiful day, and we have some great music, so I don't want to speak too long. But we do have some traditions that we have to follow. I want to introduce some of the other elected officials that are here. In case you don't know them, please go up and say hello and take time to meet them. So I'm just going to read them off. We have our candidate for state treasurer and former state senator Tim Eichenberg. Give us a wave. We've got our current senator Daniel Ivy Soto, right there. And Senator McSorley. This is actually, give us a wave right back there. Senator McSorley, this is his neighborhood right here. PRC Commissioner Karen Montoya, who represents most of the city. Thank you, Karen. Now, I think they might have left with former U.S. Senator Fred Harris and his wife, who's a party chair, Marg Ellison. Let's give them a round of applause. We have one of my representatives, who I see often in our neighborhood, Representative Mimi Stewart, right there. Thank you, Mimi. We also have the former president of the Senate, Richard Romero, and I think he might have had to skip out too. We'll give them a round of applause too. Thank you, Richard, for coming. And I believe, unless I forgot, folks, the last person I also want to thank is a statewide elected official here who's also running for re-election, our land commissioner, Mr. Ray Powell. Ray, also headed out. All right. Well, we thank each of you for coming, and of course, it means a lot. It's not always easy, actually, for elected officials to come to other elected officials' events. We won't get into all the politics behind that, so it's an honor for me to have each of you here today, so thank you for coming and supporting. Now, let me also introduce, I have fortunate to have tons of family here today from both sides. So I've got my parents, Jan and Mike, give us a wave. Awesome. And then my in-laws, Marty and Sydney Kiston. And my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and her family, and my two nieces, they're right there, Caroline, Kristen, Renelle. And I also have with me today my wife and our new baby daughter, so Elizabeth and Maya. And also aunt and uncle, so Nomi and Hal. So we've got a great turnout from both sides of the family, which makes it extra special today. And also, I want to thank our hosts. So most of you know them, and you've heard them so far, but they throw such great events now. All of you probably come here every Saturday. Blair and Ann, thank you so much. Of course, principals and C&M board member as well, Blair. So thank you so much. Let me just share a couple of quick things about myself. Was born and raised here in Albuquerque, as many of you know, went to St. Pius High School. And I actually went away for about 10 years. I attended college out at Notre Dame, and I had a number of interesting jobs. I actually worked in investment banking for a while and some other businesses. And I eventually found my way to Cambodia, and I spent 3 years there actually starting a nonprofit company. And that was a real transition point in my life for a number of reasons. But one of them is because I decided I wanted to move back home to New Mexico. Actually, every year that I had been gone, I missed New Mexico more and more. And so I decided to kind of rearrange my career so I could come back here. And I was fortunate enough to do so now, I guess about 8-9 years ago. And when I came back, I also decided that part of what I wanted to do was get involved in politics. And I have some high school friends here and some friends who even know me longer than that, and they know that's actually been a lifelong passion of mine, so it shouldn't have taken me 10 years to figure it out, but it did, and I came back, and this is actually the biggest step for me in terms of dedicating my life to public service in New Mexico, because as you may know, the auditor actually is a full-time job, whereas a state senator is far from that. So I'm excited about that opportunity, and when I came back home from New Mexico, there were really a couple of things that stuck out. One was that all the wonderful things that I missed about New Mexico and all the special things about our state were still here. And they still are today, and I still love them. And it's such a great place to start a family and be in public service. But the other thing I noticed was that we're still 49th in so many categories. And I know we've all heard this, whether it's 49th in per capita income, 49th in health measures, including obesity. And we talk about our education scores. We have long continuing challenges in our state. And for me, that is why, in whatever capacity, I want to serve you. My goal is to try and move the needle on that number, 48th or 49th or 50th or 51st, whatever it is. I know we can do better here in New Mexico. And that's what I'm here to dedicate my career to. Now, as part of that role as state senator, I think I gave it a good shot. I'm known for running a lot of bills. I've run hundreds of pieces of legislation, which I know will make my colleagues cringe. So fortunately, with some help, a lot of help, actually from some of my colleagues in the room, and really nothing passes without our majority leader blessing it. So was able to pass some good measures. We've passed 30 legislative measures over the course of 6 years. Thank you. So hopefully it had some impact. In one of the areas, there's a lot of topics that we all care about here, whether it's education or healthcare or social justice. But one area in particular that I've focused on is really government reform and going after some of the challenges that we have that are institutional in our state. And for me, that's been working on areas like the PRC, the Finance Authority, the Investment Council. These are all large state institutions that needed fixing in areas that I've been able to have some success. Now, I believe Auditor actually is the next platform for me to be able to do this and even have more impact. And so the state auditor, many of you might not even know really what the auditor does. And I can just tell you in short, the auditor is responsible for the effective use of every public dollar in the state. It's actually a really simple mission. It's very basic. And every public dollar is an important word because it includes C&M, it includes UNM, it includes APS, it includes the city of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County. All of these entities, the books run up through the auditor's office. And this gives me an opportunity to really go after fraud, waste, and abuse at every level of state government. And that's something actually Auditor Balderas has done a great job at and something I want to continue. So as your auditor, that is going to be my first order of business, and is always the most important order of business, is to make sure fraud, waste, and abuse doesn't occur at any level in New Mexico government. Now, the second thing I want to do is a little bit different. I actually want to also try and work on solutions to prevent those problems from happening in the end. So to the best I can within the auditor's office, I'm going to create a policy evaluation shop, and you're going to see me having proactive stances and even drafting legislation and trying to get my colleagues to carry it on all sorts of issues. Because I believe that the auditor's office has the right and the authority to say what is a good use of our taxpayer dollars and what is not. And so what that means is when we talk about things like the behavioral health crisis that's going on right now, and how that performance audit has been completely dismantling behavioral health throughout our state. That's something that as auditor I can stand up and I can say that is not the right way to do it. It's not a good use of taxpayer money. Education system is another area. When we talk about these policies that are just driving more and more testing into our schools and taking dollars out of the classroom and giving them to out-of-state contractors, that's another area where the auditor can have a say in the states. And when we talk about even things like tax policy, and we think about job growth and economic development, the auditor's office can help ensure and help make sure that everyone in the state knows that the right policies are going to help everyone in New Mexico, not just the 1% and not just out-of-state corporations. Lastly, of course, there's always any issue that involves the state procurement code, which is not fancy, but if any of you do business with the state government or city government or county government, that's where, to me, the root of a lot of things like pay-to-play and a lot of corruption lie. And I'm going to go straight after that. When we think about the casino deal in my district, other things that have gone on, as state auditor, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure everyone gets a fair shake from state government. So thank you very much for coming. Hopefully that gives you a little bit about the state auditor's race and what's going on with our campaign. Let me just really close by telling you some ways you can help. We, as a state auditor campaign, and we have a staff here too that I just want to give quick waves. Justine, she walked in. Alan Packman, who's on our team. And we also have Mike Davis, who helps out during the session. All these folks who are wearing the little Tim Keller badge can help answer questions or take care of any concerns you might have. But we need your help. Auditor isn't the most glamorous race out there. And so every volunteer is extremely important because those really don't come that naturally to a race like this. And of course, financially, if you're able to, we could certainly use your financial support. There's envelopes and contribution forms on the way out, and there's sign-in sheets if you're interested in volunteering and so forth. So there's lots of ways to help out. And thank you so much for caring about what I'd like to do for our state and for about the state auditor's race and for coming today. So let me just close, I think, with really one thing. We're going to have all sorts of still lottery to go. We're going to have music.
Let me get you a couple numbers.
Ample food. We might do a few lottery number drawings right here. And then also, I just want to say, some of you have known me for a long, long time. And it's not to differentiate who's known me for a long time and some who haven't. But I just want you to know, I want to thank you especially for helping me in every aspect of my career. It wasn't easy 6 years ago when I got into state politics because I didn't have a lot of background in it. And I wouldn't be here today without the family support, the days and days of door knocking that my family's done, and a lot of the old friends that I've had. So I want to say thank you to each of you. And then also thank you to the folks around here who have been longtime party advocates, longtime folks who are interested in policy in our state, who I've gotten to know over the last few years and have been equally as important in helping me establish my footing and hopefully make a run for state auditor. So with that, let's get to some lottery prizes. So I've got door prizes, that's right. Not to confuse with the education lottery, which is another issue, by the way. The auditor is going to be all over it. So let's go with the last three numbers on this first ticket. So is there anyone out there with 396 as a winning ticket? 396. Do we have 396?
These are all New Mexico products.
And these are all New Mexico products?
All from around the state.
All local, all around the state. And looks like we might have to get another one for that. Let's go to the next one. 438. Do we have a winner? 438. All right, come on up. All right. And some more numbers. How about 401?
401.
401. Wow, we've got a lot. All right, let's try 414. Wow, this is amazing. So those of you who are still here, this is great because your chances are getting higher and higher. Okay, 438. Check your tickets. We've got good products up there. 412. 443.
Oh, we got a 443.
All right, we have a winner in the back. Come on up, and the last one should be 427. All right, look at that. Oh, you have to donate that. You're not official.
My wife.
All right, go with your wife. She was expecting. That's a good way to go. Okay. We'll have more music and more presents. Thank you so much. I'll be around as long as you'd like. And thank you again so much for coming. Thanks.
Ask him real quick.
We've got plenty of food for many years. Is with us this afternoon, and Carmi is on the Public Education Commission. She's elected official also. Oh, also our great friend, meet Tim, get to talk to him, and we have more music coming.
No worries. Brother, all last night. So in
You have learned from the sun. You probably got a little chicken.
Per camera, I'm not good with it.
It's okay. I have
that is going to be hilarious on video, by the way.
Can you say hi, Tim? Hey, we love Tim.
Baile como Juana la cubana.
Headquarters there is for down
Sarah and Cesar Chavez. Wow, Cesar Chavez, an unforgettable name. Raise your hand, Sarah and Cesar. 65 years of marriage. Let's give them a wonderful round of applause. This is a classic song we always sing entitled Las Mañanitas.
He's like probably 30 yards.
but I say probably.
Las Mañanitas que cantan.